Good morning, everyone. Lots going on as usual. Today is Saturday, November 15th, 2025, and Trump is going to sue everybody. Trump is personally going to sue people. Trump's Department of Justice is going to sue people. Gavin Newsom, BBC, and I think it's legit justified. I think that there's a reason for it. I think just Trump is explains himself well, and he's doing the United Kingdom a favor and probably California a favor as well. So we're going to look at that. And there's a bunch of other Trump news as well. Cloned meat, no labels necessary because Canada, right? And so people are pushing back on all of this. They don't like it. I don't like it either. And I'm looking for a good butcher. So yeah, I buy bread, but still the bread is using folic acid, and there's stuff in the flour that I don't necessarily want in the flour, right? But anyway, it's pretty wild stuff what they're doing to all the food, and I wouldn't have believed it. In fact, I don't think I did believe it in 1995, 1998. I heard about the gay agenda and I laughed it off, and now fast forward, right? They're turning the frogs gay. And so it's pretty wild stuff. I killed a Weyun this morning, and so if you have any knowledge at all of Star Trek, you know what I'm talking about. So Weyun is a clone, and there are multiple Weyuns. And if you kill a Weyun, you just get another Weyun back. And Gul Dukat hated Weyun, but he had to work with him because Cardassia had sold out the Federation space, the Alpha Quadrant, to the Dominion. They betrayed them, and so Gul Dukat and Weyun had to work together to control the Jem'Hadar to, run the Alpha Quadrant or whatever. And it was one of my favorite interactions when Gul Damar would get upset with Weyun, and there was one episode where he just killed him because the Weyun was like not giving him the answers he wanted. And I thought it was great. And I was like, they're gonna have to, like, the next Weyun's gonna know that, so that's pretty funny. So I am coding a Reddit style site, and the Reddit style site is linkroll.com, and it's got the old Reddit algorithm. And this morning I fixed something yesterday. I was trying to include I made emails work, so emails work now, but I was trying to add notification settings for users to be able to change their notification settings so that you could opt out of emails, so you're not getting like bombed with all sorts of emails from people who are responding or whatever, right? Because it's super popular already. Dozens of us, okay, a dozen of us. But anyways, regardless, the AI thing that I was using broke the site, like broke it ridiculously, just made it look ridiculous, and like removed a bunch of features that I had not worked hard, but I had prompted hard previously. And I was like, what are you doing, man? Like, and it's a good thing I know how to I know how to roll things back and stuff, but AI is not as easy. Like, you can't just say, okay, AI, run the country, because the AI will just tank the country worse than Carney and not realize that it's broken everything, right? Like, the whole website didn't work. And like, people were saying, hey, like, it says there's a tweet here, but there's no tweet here. And I was like, oh, crud. So yeah, there was all sorts of ridiculous things. So if you don't know what you're doing and you try and do things with AI, the AI is going to break. The more complex something is, the more you need to know what you're doing in order to be able to accomplish it. Because if you don't know what you're doing, the AI is going to break it on you. I promise. I wish it weren't so, but like, I'm somebody who tries to use AI. Maybe I'm an idiot, but like, I don't think I'm an idiot, because this is not easy, right? Like, getting to this point is not easy. And then having the AI break everything and then being able to put it back, not easy. So I don't think I'm the idiot. I don't understand why AI would break everything. So weird, right? Anyway, I don't think it's targeting me. I think it just didn't know. And so, like, that's concerning. Anyway, they're going to try and move our whole world. Elon Musk said the other day, AI is going to be running everything, and we just hope it's nice. And it's like, that's a really, really big wake up, red flag, holy shit moment, please, everybody. But nobody seems to care. Like, they really don't seem to care. And because they don't understand what AI is. And some people can wield it really well, but it's like playing a good musical instrument, right? Like, without the human, that instrument is benign, right? Like, it's not going to do anything. So anyway, let's talk about money and $94 billion in operating costs that have been removed from the conversation by reclassifying them as capital investment, not spending, right? Not part of the budget, not part of anything. We're just going to, whatever, it's fine, right? And so Lori says interim parliamentary budget officer Jason Jack says under Prime Minister Mark Carney's 2025 budget, deficit projected to average $64.3 billion annually from 2025 to 26 up to 2030, more than double the amount projected in Trudeau's government 2024 fall election statement that saw Minister Freeland run for the hills, right? And he continues, PBO maintains the government definition of capital investment is overly expansive based on the PBO's definition. Day-to-day operating balance after new 2025 budget measures would remain in deficit position, contrary to Carney's pledge to balance the operating budget in 3 years. So even with this pledge to do all of this, they're not actually going to do all of this. And it is not accurate, what they're saying, right? And so that's interesting to note, don't you think? Jasmine says, just in, the PBO has released a report that reveals Mark Carney lied about the $94 billion in operating costs. He instead labeled the spending as investment to give the appearance of a balanced budget. Does this surprise you? No, and the response is to get rid of the guy writing the report, because the bombshell report is the thing that's like, we heard that they want to get a new fair, balanced PBO guy, right? And parliamentary budget officer. And that reads somebody who will say what the Liberals want them to say and not what is actually true, right? Pierre Poilievre said, no wonder Carney wants to fire the parliamentary budget officer. Canada's top budget watchdog today published a brutal report exposing how Carney's costly credit card budget cooks the books, doubles the deficit, and promises fake savings. Canadians can't afford the cost of Carney. Yeah, well, until we start addressing what's actually going on here, the uniparty, the wholesale theft of our tax dollars to import our replacement while we set up a foreign war in Ukraine that we absolutely have to send people to, and for equity, we'll probably send white people because that'll be the only job they'll be able to get without a social credit ID or whatever, without digital ID, right? You'll just get your military ID. You won't have to have digital ID. You'll just get a military ID, which is worse. But anyway, I digress. We can't afford the cost of Carney. Sure, but Poilievre doesn't engage with the broader reality of what's going on in the world. He pretends that everything's just normal and this is all just part and parcel of a democracy struggling to do its best. Nope. We're being invaded and our tax dollars are being stolen and it looks like governments are in on it. And Poilievre's saying, oh man, we can't afford the cost of Carney. Dude, like what? And you can dismiss things and say, oh, that sounds like a conspiracy theory. But when things stack up like this, it seems like way more than a conspiracy. Like how many conspiracy theories ended up being true? 15-minute cities. Also, the COVID, everything about COVID. All of these conspiracy theories are true. And now we're saying, hey, like, it seems like the governments of the world, specifically the Western governments of the world, are working against their citizens to bring about some kind of negative economic catastrophe that will enable, I don't know what, but certainly not good things for us, enable them to say, we don't have any more options except fighting this war against Russia because they're really bad. And we're not going to be able to say no because, I mean, the last thing we said no to was the masks and the lockdowns. And since then, these people have been trying to figure out a way to lock us down and mask us without COVID or illness. They're just, it's for your safety, comrade, trust us, right? And they have no track record of actually being trustworthy. So Carney's hiding all sorts of spending and people are acting as if things are just absolutely normal. We're still getting screwed. The economic catastrophe is being engineered and nobody's really going to do anything about it. And I mean, an economic catastrophe might wake people up, but it's not going to do anything to avert the damage or fix the problem. If people understand, oh, right, we're being run by communists. I mean, people in China understand that they're being run by communists, and either they don't seem to mind or they can't do a damn thing about it. So it's the same thing, really, right? Moving on a little bit, we'll talk about CBC watchers highlighting this. Mark Carney lies about major projects. So we were told we were going to get major projects. People were hoping for pipelines. Danielle Smith was hoping for pipelines, but when she didn't get the pipeline, she said, okay, you've got 6 more months. So I've extended the deadline. Be thankful, or something like that. And why do people, I don't understand why people support this. What's your game, Danielle Smith? Anyway, here's CBC watcher, and she says, they say, Jane McGregor sort of kind of like points out that Carney sort of didn't kind of need major projects office these days. These projects, but in fact, when we checked with the Prime Minister's office, it confirmed that actually none of these projects referred to the major projects office. So we stood up an expensive bureaucracy to do nothing, and we've announced a whole bunch of projects that are expensive and line the pockets of people. I think one of the guys put in place in one of Mark Carney's bureaucracies is making almost $1 million a year, $900,000 a year after bonuses and all the rest. And we haven't got anything done. And like all of these announcements of these new major projects, they didn't use the office. So like, what are we paying for? Grift, right? Liberal insiders, cronyism. Here's just a little bit of this.
See, for example, a news release from the graphite mine north of Montreal that was on yesterday's list, touting how it's now been recognized as a major project of national interest by the government of Canada. I noticed an environmental group yesterday put out a press release incorrectly stating that the Silicium's proposal was designated as a project of national interest. Susan Holtz, the Premier of New Brunswick, yesterday was talking about how the tungsten mine in her jurisdiction was now declared as being of national interest. But in fact, when we checked with the Prime Minister's office, it confirmed that actually none of these projects referred to the Major Projects Office. None of these referrals so far amounts to an actual official declaration that would trigger the stronger, some would say more draconian powers to push through a project deemed in the national interest. These powers, of course, that the Carney government passed into law last June. So what's really going on here? In BC yesterday, reporters were pushing the Prime Minister about the choice to prioritize a natural gas pipeline that is, in fact, still facing legal challenges from some of the Indigenous peoples along the route. And here is.
Do you hear the ideological bent? Do you hear it? Because I sure do. Here's Mr. Sunshine Baby highlighting, this is $9 billion with a B, for a Quebec train. So to reduce emissions, says Mark Carney. Here's Mark Carney announcing billions of dollars in spending for Quebec. Wow. You're welcome, says Alberta.
The REM will be the largest automated transportation system in the world. And to support its first phase, the Canada Infrastructure Bank deployed over $1.2 billion in financing. The second phase of the REM, stretching from downtown to Deux-Montagnes, expands, as Charles said, the service to nearly 50 kilometers, and 19 stations. Et le gouvernement du Canada investit 400
And the government of Canada is investing $400 million to directly connect the airport terminal to the REM so that people can get from downtown to the airport in only 25 minutes. This station will come online in 2027. But, friends, it's not only about what we build, but the way we build. And the REM project relies on solidarity with workers, creating 34,000 jobs, 34,000 jobs during construction. There will be more than 1,000 permanent jobs and more than $2 billion in salaries once the system is fully operational. This project will also be built sustainably, will be entirely electric, and will reduce emissions by some 100,000 tons per year, which is the equivalent of taking 30,000 cars off the road each day.
Do you hear the ideological bent? Because I sure do. And again, taking cars off the road may be a good thing in liberal land, but I personally would rather have a private vehicle than have to rely on a liberal rail station anywhere, because I've seen what happens in Toronto. So the TTC is a nightmare, and it didn't used to be. I used to enjoy going downtown to Toronto on the TTC. We'd stop at Yorkdale, we'd walk through the mall, we'd go onto the Yorkdale stop, and we'd take it downtown, and we'd go do whatever we needed to do, and then we'd drive back. We'd subway back to Yorkdale, and it was great. And the last time we were there were people screaming on the subway, there were violent people, and there were very concerning situations, and we were able to slalom our way through it. We were able to protect what we needed to protect and make sure that, you know, people had minimal exposure to it, but we didn't do that again, right? Like, more fool us once, shame on you, fool us twice, shame on us, right? So we didn't do that again. So it's a nightmare. And I mean, like, do you want to get on a bus? I've seen footage of what's going on in New York. I've seen footage of people who, very reasonable people who are very upset with people exposing themselves. And these reasonable people turn violent because these animals, I suppose, are behaving as animals would in a public space. And that's not acceptable in the West, right? And so the citizens say, no. And they kick them off the train, which can't blame them. I can't blame them, but then they get in trouble, right? So no thanks. I'll drive my own private car. I don't need your jobs, and I don't need the government investment. So that's only $11,000, almost $12,000 a job. If $400 million divided by 34,000, right? So 34,000 jobs, that seems high. And $400 million in 2 years, that seems like expensive, right? Seems like a little bit for kickbacks, a little bit for material. I don't know, right? I don't know. Here's Western Standard, and they're reporting Smith moves goalposts, Premier pushing back deadline for feds to respond to Alberta's demands. Oh, right, because, you know, it's so difficult. We should move slower. You're right. We should not demand answers. We should definitely wait. And, you know, it's like when you've been in the waiting room for a really long time and like everybody else gets seen except for you, but your appointment was like hours ago and you had an appointment and it seems like there's walk-ins coming off the street. Like, what is this, right? And so the only solution there is to extend the deadline and be calm about it. No, I don't think so. You flip some tables. No, you walk out, right? Disclosed TV is reporting large anonymous donations are being funneled to the WHO's coffers via the WHO Foundation, raising concerns about the organization's independence on undisclosed donors. We should get rid of the WHO. We should get rid of the United Nations. We should get rid of every supranational agency. And then we should get rid of all foreign aid, period. If you want your country to be great, make your country great. But bribery from Western countries to prioritize Western interests is probably not good. Now, I want chocolate, and I think that there can be a relationship with the West and like chocolate producing countries, because we don't make a lot of chocolate here. Like, it's not like, oh, you know, there's lots of chocolate fields in Canada. I don't know. We're not making lots of cocoa, right? I don't think that chocolate is I don't think it's an export that we make. Is it? Might be. I don't know. There's a Lindt store. Anyway. They seem to make chocolate at the Lindt store, but I don't know if that's like a big thing that Canada does. But like, if there's a thing that we need, I'm not opposed to making an agreement with a country to say, hey, listen, like the Keg makes an agreement with farmers to say, hey, listen, we're definitely going to buy, 300 cows every quarter from you. Like, we're going to need this much steak. We're definitely going to buy this much steak. Agreements like that, great, because that's beneficial for everybody. I'm going to run this chocolate farm. You're going to give me lots of money. You're going to get chocolate at a good price. I'm going to get lots of money for my chocolate farm. Everybody's happy. I'm fine with deals like that. I am not fine with, hey, we want you guys to support open borders, and so we're going to put this crackpot leader in and give him lots and lots of money, and he can do whatever the hell he wants with the population. I don't care. No, I feel like that's terrible, but we do that instead of like, hey, chocolate farmers, would you like some money? Like, so actually it's much more predatory than that. The United States loans money and then demands that the money be repaid in US dollars. And then they say, so you have to produce things that will pay for in US dollars. So produce chocolate. And then the US takes the chocolate, pays them in US dollars, and then takes the US dollars as repayment for the loans. Give us chocolate or else. Ish. Right. So, but France was doing the same thing. I mean, this is kind of the modus operandi, right? If you've got power, you wield it, crush those people or something. I'm not sure. But the anonymous donors to the supranational agencies, I feel like that's a red flag. I feel like we should probably stop that kind of stuff. I don't know. Right. Seems like a good idea. Dr. Leslyn Lewis says, Health Canada, let's talk about cloned meat. I don't want to eat cloned meat, right? Even Dolly. I don't want to eat Dolly. But Dolly was the cloned sheep that was great fanfare in 1999. And then everybody stopped talking about cloning. 1999 to 2001, cloning was like all the rage. And then gone, right? Done. Revenge of the Clones, done. Revenge of the Clones? Return of the Clones? Clone Wars. I can't remember which one it is. Star Wars 2. Anyway, Dr. Leslyn Lewis is talking about clones. And she says, Health Canada recently decided that meat from cloned animals, and this is like printed grown meat where they have to put it into a machine to like make it meat. They'll grow these cultures of cells and they'll put it into a something or other, and I can't remember the name of it again, so sorry about that. Cultivator. It's a cultivator. And they'll put it in the cultivator and then take it out of the cultivator, and that's a hamburger because it's made of the same thing meat is made of, just in a lab. And that's cloned meat. They take the cloned cells from an animal and then make that into meat in a lab, and then bingo bango bongo, that's your meat, baby. And I don't want to eat that. And I've seen people separating, like taking a meat cut from a butcher and the same cut from like Walmart or a grocery store chain brand, whatever, grocery store chain, and cutting the steak up, and the steak from the grocery store chain looks like printed, or like cells grown in a petri dish, not like the sinew of a muscle that's been, walked around with, right? Like anyway, maybe they're already doing it. Maybe we've already all eaten it, right? Like maybe it's already in circulation. The United States has hormones in the milk, and Canada doesn't have hormones in the milk, right? So like maybe people have already been exposed to these things and we don't know. Anyway, back to this. Health Canada recently decided that meat from cloned animals and their offspring no longer needs a special review of any form of disclosure. No packaging labels, no nothing. That means soon you could buy beef or pork and have no idea how it was bred. See, I feel like they're understating the problem here, right? Like other countries debate this openly. The EU has considered strict labeling, and even the US has admitted that cloned offspring meat is circulating. But here in Canada, the public wasn't even told. This is about informed choice. If government and industry don't have to tell us when meat comes from cloned animals, then Canadians need to ask simple, honest question: what else are we not being told? There is a long list. There's a long, long list. Here is more stuff happening with cloned meat. Hey, Brookfield, do you have any kind of interest or investments in cloned meat? Oh, why, yes, we do. Why this matters for cloned meat. Brookfield is Canada's largest alternative asset manager, 900 billion. And in 2022, it bought 49% of Trans-Ova Genetics, the number 2 cattle cloning company, for $250 million. Cheap. That's cheap. That's nothing, right? That's absolute like pennies to these guys, right? And so they're making lots of money now, because in 2022, was the meat being circulated, cloned meat being circulated? Is it now because Mark Carney's prime minister, or was it already? And this law just backdates it and covers them. I don't know. Food professor says cloned meat isn't the real issue. It's how the issue is being handled. The science isn't the problem. The silence is. Yeah, well, we're being lied to at a massive, massive scale. Here's Lion Advocacy, and I've got to say goodbye to the stream soon, but I wanted to get this one in there as well. Lion Advocacy says the Canadian government has found a new way to expand warrantless search and seizure in order to effect additional mind control measures. Take items at the border on the basis that the items require tariff classification for hate. No judge, no police, just CBSA officer. Canada Border Patrol now seizes books that they deem hate speech. If you want to read Lucas Gage material, you'll have to find another way to acquire them. So here's somebody's Canada Border Service Agency notice of detention and so seizure of their stuff of a Lucas Gage book. So, and Lucas Gage seems to be like just one of those, men being men and stuff, right? And so Greg gets into Aaron O'Toole talking about polling, and this is another reason why the CPC loses, is because they cite polls instead of talking about issues people care about in a passionate way. Dallas Brody is a good example of somebody who is putting together a platform based on real issues and real solutions, whereas the CPC is a what's it called? A polling party, where it's they look for feedback, and then they give people what the feedback said that the people wanted. But by the time they're pushing that message out, the people have moved on, or the messaging needs to be moved on, modernized. But they're 2 weeks, 3 weeks lag, right? And that's a problem that's lost them many elections. Also, the elections are rigged, but I digress. With that, we've got to say goodbye to the stream. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you want the whole show, head over to CanadaPoly.com. Go check out linkroll.co. Submit a link, upvote some things, test some things. I've noticed that it's taking a longer time to produce the list, so I'm going to have to look into what's going on there. So I'm actively developing it right now. So if there's a problem, send a message my way. The emails are working now, so that should be interesting. We'll see how things go on it, and I think it's an interesting project. I'm happy